I've been given 15 minutes, and in these 15 minutes, I'm going to try and put across to you as to what I feel after 46 years of working in corporate world, Africa, and now sitting on boards of companies, as to how do we build good organizations? How do we make organizations that last, that sustain, and are happy places for people to work? So that's what I'm going to try and put together in these 15 minutes for you, just to set the context, what I see, what is happening in the world today as I look at it. There is a lot of changing environment, and it's very, very fast-paced. So globally, what are we witnessing? We are witnessing that there is US and China decoupling. There are physical wars that we are witnessing. There's Russia on one side, Ukraine, the other side is Israel and Hamas, Gaza. That is happening. There are trade wars, there are curbs, there are sanctions, there is political unrest. Just look at our two neighbors on both sides and across Myanmar and the rest, Middle East, Africa. There is just a lot of unrest that is there. There is somewhere an anti-globalization, more nationalistic, more anti-immigrant sentiment which is coming up as well, and that's rising. And somewhere there is also a certain of rising fundamentalism. And I don't mean just religious fundamentalism. Overall, there is this whole fraternity which is becoming more and more fundamental. That's what I'm seeing at a global level. What am I seeing at an industry level? At an industry level, I'm seeing that a lot of industries are converging because all the developments that are happening in technology. Some companies are not existing anymore. Some are, just merging because they feel that that would work better for them. Then there is the whole consumer. The consumer that says, I want things the way I want it. I want it at the price point that I want it, and I want the features that I want it. So there is this whole consumer rising power that is there. So because of which the product, product cycles are shortening. Also, you see that innovation is much faster, it's picking up a lot of pace. Having said that, there is also reduced job security. There is more and more unemployment, which has led to a higher gig economy. So you find a lot of people that are working, but they are not fully employed there. And all these emerging mega trends are compelling businesses to rethink their business models, rethink how will they survive, and rethink everything that they are doing. And that's where my area of work comes in. That's exactly what I do. I go into organizations and I help them rethink and change and transform. So what are the few things that I have noticed that have stood out for me when I have gone to these organizations? Because I look at it more from the people practices standpoint. So what has come to me? I have seen that really stand out for me are that most of the people in the organizations don't feel that they are being utilized to their full potential. They feel they can give much more, but the organizations are not able to harness that for them. Also, they feel that they're somewhere not valued, somewhere they're not included, they're told what to do, they don't know where is it coming from. So that's another piece which comes out. They also find that their managers, who they actually look up to because they've had more experience, they're actually constricting them. They're not liberating them. They're not letting them shine, letting them do things that they are capable of doing. And because of this, we find there's more and more stress, depression, anxiety. Aren't we all hearing it more? Are you all hearing it more as well than we ever heard before? Right? So all this is leading also to all these emotional things that organizations and people have to deal with. So that's what I'm finding there. What is it that the employees are saying? Most of you are going to go and join companies, and I'm trying to explain to you what is it that they are saying right now. They are saying that we are a different generation. We are a different workforce than what it was maybe when we were working. And we want more from our employers. We want something where they can tell us, what do these organizations stand for? What do they truly believe in? What do they want to have as their guiding principle? Also, they want opportunities to engage, opportunities to grow, opportunities to learn. Also, for employees of today that we have, their work life and their personal life is not different anymore. It has somewhere converged. So they are finding and looking for fulfillment in both. They are not looking at to say, I will work, it is only this many hours, and then I will come back and do whatever I want to know. They want fulfillment from their work as well, and from their personal lives as well, and both from the organization as well. So things are changing there as well. So this is where, when I think back that we have a lot to learn as to how we can create this and bring this semblance from Mother Nature. Nature gives us answers. It does. It's the 5 elements of nature that I'm going to walk you through and see if organizations can learn how to live in harmony. If as humans, we don't interfere with nature, it works very well. But what are the 5 elements of nature? Can someone tell me? Sky, air, earth, water, and fire. So these are the 5 elements that I feel that if we are able to learn from these elements in our organizations, we will be able to build fantastic organizations that sustain and have happy people. So let's look at the first one, sky. When we think of sky, we think of what? Infinity, vastness, limitlessness, clarity, boundarylessness, serenity, transcendence. And when we think of an organization, we should think of all these qualities that an organization can possess. So how can it do that? It can only do that if it has clarity of purpose. Why do I exist? Why am I here? What is it that I have started this organization for? When there's this clarity of purpose, and then with that purpose, you can have all your other things, which is your vision and your mission. Vision will tell you to say, what am I supposed to do? Your strategy, your all that. And mission is going to tell you, how can I do it? Which is your business plans and all that. But the guiding principle is that purpose. I'm going to read out purpose for 3 organizations to you, and I will give you the name. And when you listen to what they've said, see that, do you think that, yes, this is what they are doing? And that's why maybe they're so successful. So the first one I'm going to use is something whose product I'm using right now, which is Apple. So Apple says its purpose is to create products that enrich people's lives by providing the best user experience through its software, hardware, and services. Did you get a feeling that, yes, they do that? How many of you use Apple products? Do you get that feeling? It is it actually, these days I feel with the phone you can do everything. You don't need anything else that is there, right? That's their purpose. They were clear in this. The second I'm going to give you is the one which is regarded as the best companies to work for in the world, which is Google. So what does Google say for its purpose? It says it is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Aren't they living it? Correct? They are. We use Google for every little information that we need, right? And then one within our own country, which is the Tata Group that I have always admired. So the Tata Group's purpose is to improve the quality of life of the communities it serves and create long-term shareholder value. Jamshedpur, they literally created a city. Forget about just communities, right? And how old is Tata Group? It was set up somewhere in the 1800s. It has survived, it employs, it's a good organization. Okay, so purpose. So what does this mean? Purpose acquires its greatest potential when a company lives its purpose on a day-to-day basis, where it is willing to let go of business if it doesn't match its purpose. You have to have that conviction. Only then that purpose literally reflects in what they do. That is, when purpose becomes a part of their existence and their subconsciousness. It just comes automatically. So that's the first thing that we learn from Sky, which is purpose. Let's look at the second element now. So the second element that we have is earth, right? Now what does earth stand for? Earth actually is seen as a feminine. It's called Mother Earth. It's feminine. It is the great mother. It represents nourishment, fertility, creativity, renewal, longevity, growth, support. It is the life. Without earth, we can't survive. It gives us life resources. It gives us land, air, water. It is the bedrock for our existence. It is the foundation. What do we need in an organization that has a strong foundation? It's the organizational structure. How do you structure your organization? And it is unique to everyone. They can all decide what works for them. There is no right answer. There is nothing to say, this structure is the best structure. If all organizations follow it, they will be successful. No, they have to find it themselves. They can have any kind of a structure. They can have what is a hierarchical, functional, divisional, matrix, global, regional, vertical, horizontal, boundaryless, collaborative, agile. Use as many words as you want to. Any of that. But what are the 3 principles that they should use when they're looking at that structure? The first principle that they should need to look at is, again, the overarching purpose. Why do we exist? If we are putting this structure, does this align with our purpose? That's the first thing. The second thing that they have to look at, the capability. What is the capability of our people? What is the capability of our organization? What is the capability of our products? Basis that. That's the second. And the third thing that they have to look at is, what is our way of working? How are things moving? How are they going? If they look at these 3 principles and formulate the structure that works for them, and it could even be a mix and match of something, it would give them that sound foundation that earth gives us. Having said that, if you start, and I have done this as part of my transformation work that I do, I observe and I look at and I do a networks mapping. So while they say we are global or we are matrix or whatever, but how actually are people working with each other? How are they forming their own networks? Because those networks are relationship-based. They are based on human to human. So when you look at that, you realize that there is a formal structure, but there is also an informal structure that exists. An organization that are able to use the art and science of both the formal and the informal are the ones that create that foundation that lasts. So that's our second. Let's move now to our third element. The third element is water. It is the source of life. It is essential for survival for all forms of life. It represents what? Flow, rejuvenation, flexibility, wisdom, adaptability. Water can flow through any surface. It can impermeate and go through any little crevice as well, right? What would that be that equates to water in our organizations? It is the processes that we put in place, the organizational processes. Those processes that we put in should be as smooth as water, should be able to nourish what the organization wants to do, should be able to nourish the people that are following those processes. So that's what it should be able to do. I've always told organizations, and when we look at processes, use the design thinking concept for processes. The 14 steps of design thinking, they are the best. They help you put those processes in the right manner. Very quickly, what those 14 principles are, first of all, is there a need for this process? What is the need? That's the first one. The second, immersion, which means feel it. Put yourself into those shoes of the problem. Only then you would know whether there is a need or not and what the solution should be. The third, ideation. When you are ideating and you're putting concepts and solutions and everything together. More important that ideation, that when you finally create, do it with others, co-create it. Because that will help you with ownership. It will help with accountability. And then, obviously, test it. Whatever you've put together, do a prototype testing. Once you're clear that you want to, communicate it with a story that people relate with. and then get early adopters to become your evangelists, because they are the ones that are going to take that process forward and not you. And then, of course, very important part of it, which is a little technical, is the stakeholder mapping, where you look at power and other matrices, which I'm not going to delve into right now. So once you've created this ecosystem of support is when you would be able to get maximum value out of your processes, and always begin with that guided mastery. What is guided mastery? You begin with the simplest and you keep building upon it to make it more complex. Because when you begin with the simple, it's easy for people to understand and accept and follow. And then in the end, which Ritu also said with you, celebrate. One always should celebrate, persist with it, but also measure it and reiterate or change if required. Processes should follow the same principle that water follows. What is that principle that it follows? The water cycle principle? What is that? Water, steam, ice, water. Right? So it's a continuous renewal process, and our processes should also follow that. So that's the organizational processes that we live with. We come to now the difficult one. Most organizations find it difficult, and that is the element fire. What does fire stand for? Fire stands for energy, enthusiasm, heat, excitement, warmth, hope, ingenuity, movement. It stands for all this. It is also associated with passion, power, willing to give, make things happen. And what do we need to ignite this fire? How do we ignite this fire? What are the three constituents of those? You need what? Heat, fuel, and oxygen. If you're able to give these three to organizations, they do. So what is fire? Fire stands for inspiring, motivating, the inspiration of people. That is what fire stands for. How do you inspire? In most of the work that I do, that is where most get stuck. Most people get stuck to say, we know what purpose is, we know how to put our processes together, we know our structures well, but how do we inspire? It is the simplest of things. It begins with conversations. Talk to people, listen to them, hear them, help them, resolve things for them. Provide them with mentoring, provide them with coaching, provide them with everything that you're looking at, primarily the full well-being of an employee. And this well-being is at all four levels. It is at the level of physical, their health. Where are they sitting? Are they comfortable there? Do they have the material? Do they have the resources that they need to do their job? You get people, and then after that, if you don't give them resources, how are they going to function? So that's the physical aspect. The material aspect is financial. After all, we all work to earn. Is this a decent enough compensation? Not necessary to be on the 100th or the 90th percentile of compensation. No. But at least something that is fair for people. So that is the material part of it. Emotional, which is what I spoke about. The talking, the taking care of them, making them part of CSR activities. When you give is when you get. So all those nicer to family connects, all those are nicer, which come in the emotional aspect of the employee. But one more important, the fourth one, is spiritual. And by spiritual, I don't mean have bhajan and kirtan in the offices. No, that's not what I mean. I don't mean any religious functions. I don't want Diwali and Eid celebrations. That's not what I'm talking about. Spirituality is getting to know yourself, getting to be aligned with yourself, getting to understand as a human being that there is only this much that I can do, and there is only this much that I will get. Once that alignment happens, life is peaceful. It's easier. So that spirituality as well is what I'm talking about. And for this, for igniting this fire, one size doesn't fit all. It doesn't work like that. I've said this now for literally 2 decades of my life to say, take your employees, divide them into cohorts of what each one needs. Exactly like what marketers do. What do? They do market segmentation. They pick up and say, for this particular one, this product would be tweaked like this, and for this one, similarly it is with people. If you're in your early years of career, you require very different things than when you are in your, whether you're coming from a rural area, whether you're coming, different contexts. So you put them in those cohorts, and then you help and provide whatever's required for their well-being. They will be inspired. Inspiration, I have to say, I had one of the bosses, he would come back to me and he would say, I will charge them up. And I would say, okay, what will you do? He says, I'm going to give them a very nice speech. They will go back charged up. I said, for how long? An hour? 2 days? What after that? Inspiration is not speeches. It is groundwork that is done. That 3 things that you take and work on: heat, fuel, and oxygen. If you create that, you don't need to give long, big speeches. And now, the 5th element, the last most important element, which is what? Kaun sa bacha hai? Air. Air, right? Air. Air is vital for breath. Would you say that? Try hold your breath. How long would you survive? 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, max? I don't know what biology says. You'll have to check that out, right? But it represents vitality. It's associated. Interestingly, air is associated with mind. It is associated with mind, intellect, logic. Does anyone do pranayams here? Pranayams, why do they say do the breath work? Because it aligns your mind. It works with that, right? It is also with memory. Have you ever felt and seen that if you suddenly smell something or you feel something which will say, oh, barish hui hai kya? Mitti pe pani pada hai. Right? Or if you see somebody walk by and there's a perfume that they're wearing, you'll say, oh, this reminds me of this person in my life. Right? It's all the air. It's all that you feel. We also use air to communicate. If we don't have breath, then the speech will not be heard. It will not come out. So it's that vital. It's that important. It is unseen, but it is omnipresent. Can you see it? Can you see air? Can you hold it? But is it there? Yes, it is there. It is exactly like an organization's culture. You don't see it, but you feel it. You sense it. There are people who've come back to me and saying, I don't want to work there. It's a very toxic culture. And there are people that have come back and said, I don't know why I left that organization. It was a very nice organization. If ever given an opportunity, I'll go back. It's the culture. So what is this culture? This culture it's the way of life in that organization. It's the language they use, the jargons they use, the metaphors that they use. It's the stories that you hear, the myths that are there, the legends that you hear of to say, you know, this person used to be the chairman, this is what he used to do, this is what he used to stand for. She used to stand for, my apologies. In the traditions, the rituals, the ceremonies, the celebrations, it's the behavioral norms. It's the belief system of that organization. It is the stories, or it's what passes down from generation to generation with a little bit of tweaking here and there, but that's what is the culture. I had invited the ISRO chairman once to come and give a speech at one of the conferences that I was organizing. And he came, and it was a brilliant speech that I heard. So I asked him, I said, so what would you say is the culture of your organization? He says, kuch nahi hai. कुछ भी नहीं है शालिनी जी, बस चुप करके आओ, अपना काम अच्छे से करो, और किसी चीज की नहीं है, और जो satisfaction nation building में मिलेगी वो किसी चीज में नहीं मिलेगी. And I thought it was so true. If you look at ISRO now, that's what their culture is, right? So that's what is culture. Culture is all pervasive. It is said, and Peter Drucker said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You all must have heard it. It is nothing new. It is not the products or the services or the processes which will create the uniqueness in an organization. It is this culture that is created. And most of you are going to go to organizations, and some of you that are working there. All I will say, especially in the context of today, where we are seeing what has happened in Calcutta and in Badlapur, create safe places as a culture. Create that mindset of people that accepts everybody and is happy places for all of you to work on. Thank you.